The Dane and Derek Show is an uncensored, unfiltered podcast. Content warnings can be found in the episode description. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dane and Derek. I'm your co-host Derek, and you probably know that by now. You also probably know that I make movies and play a lot of tabletop games by now. Welcome to our second season. And as usual, joining me, as the title would suggest, is my good friend Dane.
I'm Dane. I'm a writer. I love tabletop RPGs and video games, music, podcasts. I love the whole nine yards. Um, yeah, welcome back. I'm
Yeah.
I right now I am my whole studio is all torn apart for reasons. Um, so I'm not in my normal spot. So I'm not feeling as comfy as normal. But I've still got tea and I'm still here and I'm playing an over under game on how many minutes in before you and I remember how to do this.
Yeah, doing that intro, I was like, wow, I really shouldn't have changed the script.
I mean,
um,
I don't think you shouldn't have changed the script. I'm just saying
it's definitely we've been gone a month.
yeah, yeah,
I
we
mean,
have.
I guess technically a little bit more than a month, but yeah, we've been gone a month, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a bit longer for us cuz
Hmm.
recording is weird, but yeah, no, how's welcome to the new year, welcome to the new season. How is the new year treating you so far?
So far, it's been okay. Work has been fairly busy. Lots of little, hiccups here and there with everyone adjusting back to the new year, new plans, new projects, all that stuff. But I think so far it's been good. I've done a pretty good job at not overbooking myself right out of the gate. So I'm hoping to keep that up, even though we're only like 2 weeks in.
You
So,
you go for that. I believe in you and I'm pulling for you because I have not done that.
oh no.
Yeah,
Oh no.
let me just I'm just gonna say this my week out. Monday night I had nothing. Yesterday I ran a game of D&D. Uh Tonight I'm recording with you. Thursday I run another game of D&D. Uh Dungeon World technically, but whatever. Friday is an old friend from college is coming up to play very intense board games like Scythe. For which is Risk with mechs apparently. I'm gonna learn it. It's gonna be fun. Saturday is make up Christmas with my dad, and then Sunday is a concert. And hopefully next Monday I will get to relax, and then I start it all over with another D&D game next Tuesday.
Wow.
So, um, I am not doing so good on that regard right now, but I also feel like I'm playing catch up because I mean, elephant in the room for us and probably a lot of the people who listen to us, um, our breaks got pretty interrupted. At least mine did.
Yeah.
Um, During the holidays. So for anybody who doesn't know, uh, this was right before New Year's in the Boulder, Louisville area, which is where Boulder, Louisville, Superior, which is where Derek and I are from. Well, first there was like 100+ mile an hour windstorm for like 8 hours, which essentially caused a wildfire that burned through a lot of our hometowns.
Yeah.
And In my case, all of my family was okay and they didn't lose anything, but some very dear friends of mine lost their homes. Um,
Yeah.
and Derek, I don't know, your family's not really in Louisville and Superior in the same way that they were, but you know, it's, at the same time, for me personally, the whole thing was followed up by a blizzard, and the power line was literally disconnected from my house, so we didn't have power for like 4 days. So
Oh my god.
Yeah, so a lot of catch up, a lot of catch up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I woke up to news about the wildfires. My family doesn't live in Superior Louisville anymore, but still have a lot of friends there, a lot of close friends, some of whom lost their homes and all their belongings, um, and pets.
Yeah,
A lot of people lost pets, uh, which is really, really sad. It's it was very wild because like I reached out to a lot of folks. Um, I think what's even wilder is that I had called a lot of folks in Superior for Christmas
yeah,
and talked with like a bunch of friends, and then literally like the next day or two, like all that happened. Uh,
yeah,
and like Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty it was like it was d it I had a very different experience, I think, looking at it from afar, just hoping that everyone got out in time, which thankfully, like, everyone I know did, but I know that there was some lives lost in the fires,
yeah.
yeah, and, like yeah, I don't know, so many, like, places we used to hang out, like, got destroyed,
Yep.
in addition to, like, houses, parks, like
Um,
it's
and
like
Marshall,
yeah, Marshall, literally, like, all these places we used to go to are just gone now,
I love the Marshall Wild Space. I love that
yeah,
place.
it's such a great place to hike. We made a
And
lot of movies there. We would go there,
yeah,
like, before class sometimes,
yep.
and it's all, like, gone,
It won't
s
the the thing that kind of got me with that was, well, frankly, if I want to see one of my favorite places in between in this like one of my very favorite places from when I was growing up, um, I have to watch our old movies now. It's gone. It's just gone.
yeah,
And it won't look the way that it did, not even close until I'm an old man, you know?
yeah,
And so that was hard. And yeah, like I don't like yeah, so like I guess I'm playing catch up for like all sorts of stuff that I missed. And like part of me is like, "Oh, that feels very like glib almost, except for the fact that in thinking about it, I'm realizing, oh, what I'm doing is all of the people I really wanted to see and who are important to me. I'm just making time for them, and now it's just kind of all crushed together. But
mhm,
I'm lucky enough that I didn't lose anybody. I didn't lose that much, and so it's not it's not that unusual for me to be like, yeah, there's like pain here as we're trying to figure it out. So yeah, sort of a morose start back. Sorry, everybody.
yeah. Yeah, that was, like, a pretty wild, like, end of year, like, yeah, I don't know I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, it's certainly something I think we'll be thinking about for a while, and, we'll have a link in the description to, a collection of GoFundMes that GoFundMe put together to support, like, various families and townships, like, in that area, so,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. Um,
Yeah. Do you want to get on to some intentions? Just have a little bit of structure to help
yeah, yeah,
dig us
yeah.
out of this just moment because it's sad. It's
Yeah,
a little sad.
it's sad and we could yeah.
A little
Yeah.
levity.
Yeah, a little bit of levity,
I actually heard something really amazing recently.
okay.
Um, that just real quick, complete tangent, but hey, welcome back, everybody. Um, I heard someone say that sometimes making artwork that is deeply uh edgy, dark, controversial, painful, that reflects all those aspects of life, at sometimes is a radical act. Sometimes that is a very radical thing to do. Um, and at other times, it is a piece of art is radical due to its kindness, its its genuine hope and belief, like that it is also potentially, depending on the time and place and intention, it is just as radical an act to make an artwork that is not reflecting the darkness of the world, but the light of it, depending on the situation.
Mm, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is really cool. There's a
yeah,
duality to it.
yeah. Like and it was mostly in reflection to like the fact that it's very hard to be a sort of like uh roast comedian these days. Um, like if you actually like dig into it, a lot of like the really big roast comedians of like the early 2000, like the 2000s into the early 2000 teens, they've kind of all like retired or become like kind of sketchy, like really extreme right wing comedians. Um,
Mm,
because there isn't an appetite for that anymore. Because a lot of the world is just sort of already biting. Um, anyways,
interesting.
yeah.
Huh.
But
Yeah,
intentions.
so
Sorry for the tangent.
intentions. No, no, no. It was a good tangent. It was a good tangent. We should have more tangents. We should do an episode about tangents. There we go.
All right,
Um,
first one on the list, folks.
yep, first one on the list. Intentions. I've been telling this to a lot of people, so I actually do it. But I've been working really hard on just making a little bit more space for myself and a little bit more space to not like, like I said at the top of this episode, like I really have been trying to just do a little less and be a little bit more intentional with when I'm doing things. Like in the past, I definitely, especially in these last 2 years, I've definitely been the kind of person to like have 1 hour long phone call stacked on top of another hour long phone call stacked on top of an hour long game session stacked on top of a 2 hour long whatever thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to do that. It's pretty much like I limit myself to one, maybe two things an evening. And that rule has been really great because now I'm not like stressed about like running overtime with someone. Like I can really just hang out and not think about like what's happening next.
Yeah.
Because I found that I kept just only thinking about, okay, how do I make sure I get to my next thing on time? And I would never get there on time. Whether it was mentally or physically moving there or getting into the Zoom room on time, it just wouldn't work. So I've been a lot more intentional with how I've been scheduling my life in order to just, allow myself a bit more time and space to just kind of chill. I've been reading a lot more. That's I think been a big intention. I've been reading before bed every night the
Mm,
last like month
mm,
since we talked, which has been great. I'm reading Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki and Days of Distraction. Um, I also read a book called Navigating Without Instruments by Tracy Kato Kiriyama, who I do Tuesday Night Project with. She published her book over the break, and that was a great read. So it's been nice to do a lot of things like that. So yeah, it's like taking a lot of like space, I think, for myself to just kind of exist without any task has been a big thing. Um, what about you? What's an intention?
so here's the thing. I don't love the whole. I've never loved the New Year's resolution thing, and intentions I find are better. Like they're totally better, but like um, I've never once like actually consciously made one or um stuck with one. If I kind of like
Mm,
on the fly kind of came up with it, and when we were talking about this topic, I was like, maybe I should make one. I was like, no, I think I'm going to just stick with my thing and not try and force it for this. But what I didn't end up doing is I did take a little bit of time to notice what my goals are regardless. Um and things that I'm really actively trying to make happen. Um
mm,
and thing number 1, and this is like a super common one, but like Um, I want to exercise more, uh, and I'm changing the way in which I want to exercise and what I want to do. So, like, something that I've talked about on the show this year is the fact that, like, I had to drastically change my diet, for health reasons, and in that time, I've lost a significant amount of weight, um, which is, like, all very well and good. Um, I'm in a healthier, like, just my body is overall healthier than it was, and that's fantastic. One thing that I started noticing at, like, the beginning of December, I think, was that I think I started losing muscle mass, um, which was
Mm,
not ideal. Um,
yeah.
because that kinda means that my body was just, like, overtaxed. So I've kind of, like, balanced out my diet, and I'm going back to not the gym, because that's the other half of this, which is, for a long time, I went to the gym or did, like, exercise that really made my, like that was, like, really, like, heavy impact, I would call it, um, because that felt good in a particular way, but in, like, a very vain way, in a way that was, like, I wanna, like, look a certain way, um, like, I was like, I wanna be a little more jacked, I wanna be a little more cut, like, all this stuff, right?
Right.
Um, and then I did this diet, and my body now looks way closer to the way I want it to look. And I have exercised so much less this past year. Um, and on the one hand, that's pretty frustrating, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I was doing it wrong the whole time. And on the other hand, what it does mean is I do love the feeling of exercise. And now it just means that there's no right or wrong answer. And so now it's about, like, okay, what do I really physically want to do? And what do I want my body to be capable of? Um, Not just some objective something or other, you know? And so, like, at the moment, it's like hiking and yoga, because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to hike very long distances, and I want my body to be limber and strong. And I want these things for a long time. So, I want to be able to be, 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s doing hikes, being able to be outside and being able to stick with, like, these things that are not so hard on the body that I will have to then replace at some point. And the acts are peaceful. So I've been going to like a yoga class, like an actual yoga class, like once a week for, oh god, it's almost been a month. And that's been phenomenal. Really loved that. Uh haven't gotten in on the hiking yet, just because right about when I was planning on starting was when the winter finally rolled in. So that's kind of on pause. Because that one's a little more needs the weather to be on my side about that. So that's my big intentions, like, physically. And then I have this same goal that I also think about, that I've been talking about for some time on the show, which is I need to keep paring down. Um, Update for anyone who I haven't gotten around to telling. I got into law schools, plural. Um, so I'm going. I'm totally going. And so now that that's, like, a certainty, there is a side of me that's like, "Okay, okay, I gotta get a lot of stuff done and, like, out of my life by the time I get there." You know? Um, because what I want is I want to go to law school in a way where I have a sense of self, almost, a sense of, like, "This is what I do." And now I'm trading out my job for law school, you know? And
Mhm.
I need to keep I need to get down to the bare bones. Like, I need to get down to, like, okay, what are the fucking things that I cannot do without, you know? And so it's figuring that stuff out that's become really important. Do you have any other intentions?
Yeah, that's all great, man. That's really great to hear. I think, like, to your point about resolutions, I found that resolutions, real quick, if I found that resolutions just they are too mathematical to be predicted at the beginning of a year. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mhm,
Like, you
mhm.
really can't predict that you're gonna be able to do X specific goal. I mean, it probably works for some people, but it's never worked for me, even though I did set resolutions for years, and I found that coming into the year with a looser just feeling was a lot easier than, not, because then at least, like, I could kinda think about, like, what I'm hoping to do. Like, I guess, like, this is the first year in a long time where I'm not worried about creating art.
Mhm.
And so what does my life look like when I'm not creating art? And I think that's probably my biggest intention is figuring everything outside of art out. Um, and I think that's a big part of why I wanted to take space to kind of see like what I occupy my time with. Like, is it reading? Is it working out? Can I find time to finally go to a dojo? Because maybe there's a dojo that's open nearby. Maybe I actually can make that time this year. Um, and it's like little things like that that I think I'm looking more for this year than I am any kind of like satisfaction with my art because I'm at a place which is a really great place and a really like I'm really lucky to be at this place where mentally and emotionally I don't feel so insecure about what I'm making anymore.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I can compete within the spaces that I put myself into. And that's a feeling I haven't had since like high school. Uh which is like really weird to think about. But it's also like really great because now it's like, okay, yeah, like I'm not worried about whether or not I'll get to make another movie because I know I will.
Mhm.
And when the stars align, they'll align, and it'll probably be at some point this year. Same with all the podcasting stuff. It's like I'm comfortable enough with my audio editing skills that I don't need to worry so much about like having to learn how to do that again. I can just kind of continue to build off of what I have. And that's
Absolutely.
like yeah, and it's a great feeling to not have to stress so much about that. Um, and especially too because like I finished a short film last year, and that short film is hopefully going to play somewhere in the festival circuit. And I also want to make sure I have space to enjoy that if that happens, and space to like show up to these events and like talk to folks about it because I definitely think with how I was running my life, there would have been no space for that. So it's a lot more of the everything but art because I know that I will make art and I know that I will be content with whatever art I make. It's just a matter of how do I enjoy everything outside of that. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't have an answer for that yet. I just know that I've been honoring when I feel tired. Uh, um, I've been honoring when I just want to sit down and read. I've been honoring when I want to sleep in. And I've been honoring when I just wanna, like, do nothing. Like, I've been, like, really employing your rule of, like, keeping the weekends clear. I've had, like, nothing to do for the last few Saturdays, period.
Nice.
Uh, and even on, like, days where I do have things, usually the weekends are reserved for, like, hobbies, which is nice. Um, it's not so mentally intensive, for me. So that's, I think, like, the big things is, like, I wanna be it's like knowing that I'm gonna be trying a handful of things to see, like, what I like doing outside of the movies and audio work I do, um, in between that time and work time, so which I think mostly boils down to, like, getting back to martial arts, getting back to the outdoors, getting back to reading, playing probably playing versus GMing more. I wanna try and play in a game.
Yeah.
Even because I know knowing me, I'll know I'll GM like 3 or 4 games by the end of a year. That's just how you people like you and me roll. Um,
That's true.
can't help it. And yeah, in terms of the art front, I want to hopefully take this short film traveling. I want to do a web series. I want to keep up
Mm.
all the podcasts, and I have a couple of screenplays I want to finish because I think I've had enough space from them to get back to working on them, and I want to finish them, mostly so they're complete. And then, yeah, man.
Nice. I
Yeah. So
think
it's yeah.
I
What
think
what?
art wise, because I didn't really touch on that.
Yeah.
Um, art wise, I have I have Diceology, of course, which the current anthology is coming to a close, so I kind of need to gear up and do that next one. Just bang it all out. I have all like the extraneous bits, I've recorded the music, I've done the blah 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 blah. I just need to do the meat of it. Um,
Yeah.
so there's that I need to take care of. I have we have a shared writing project that I
Yes.
first due date's coming up this the week of that we're recording this.
Yeah.
Um, so almost done with that first bit. Um, I have a couple of huge writing projects, my novel from last year, and then this other one that I did in collaboration with someone else, um, that I need to like spend a ton of time editing. So I have like big writing editing projects for the first time. Like I've never really had that before, but like, and I'm actually plugging away at my novel. I think I'm a little under halfway through doing my first pass at an edit before I kind of like start really handing it off to people to be like, hey, just did I use the words right? Did I English language okay? Um, and then writing wise, um, for me personally, I'm currently about a third of a way through a novella that I started writing like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah, this one was just sort of like I started trying to work on this like this. The we talked about the novel I let go of.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, I've got this. I was like, that didn't work out. And then I just was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna try a thing. You know what? And I just outlined it real fast. And then like gave myself some rules because like I always tend to give myself rules. Like with the novel, it was like every chapter has to hit about this much word count, and we're gonna make it to this overall word count, and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And this one was like much simpler rules, and like I'm way more lax on it. So it's just like if the chapter's 400 words, the chapter's 400 words. Sorry. Like, and like
Mm.
just by like having it be a novella just like eased it up on me. Um, so that's going. I've started doing research for a bigger project that I want to do next. And this is fun. I'll talk about it more another time, but for now, I had to dig up a copy of a translation that is about 50 years old and out of print. Um,
Wow.
yeah, because well, frankly, it's just I needed it. I needed the writing of someone from the country to be sure. So
Mm.
yeah, you got to
Wow.
do that right.
Yeah.
Um, but that is kind of where I'm at. Where it's like I have a bunch of like writing that's going on. Um, and I'm trying to start paring it down. Like this project that you and I are doing, once it's finished, there will not be a thing that fills it in. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to go so far as to say this is like a last hurrah or anything kind of silly like that. Because it's not. It's definitely not. But it's definitely me getting to a point where I'm like, I am going to be doing less. Um, and so I want to focus.
Yeah, and I think that's to that, I mean, I think that's something that I think we're feeling now as we're getting older. Like we've checked that box of doing a lot of things to get better, and now we're in this kind of middle zone where it's like we're doing a lot of things because we're really interested in a lot of things. And pretty soon we're going to be in a space where it's like we know exactly what we want to do and we know how much time we have based on our commitments to other things.
Hmm.
So here's how we're going to do that. And it's like and I think that's like a really valuable thing to be okay with.
Yeah.
Like I definitely I'm definitely excited to get to a place where, like, one day in the future, I hope there's a world where I only make like one big project, maybe a year, maybe every 2 years, right? Like a movie.
Mhm.
And that's all I gotta really focus on, and everything else can kind of be a hobby. There's no real pressure to make everything work, and I think that that's great. And also, like, you're really good at doing, like, things like giving yourself a deadline, you know? Uh
Yeah.
like we've talked about it a little bit, but how like you're sort of at like with a lot of the things you're doing, you're in like that final leg, whereas I'm at the beginning of a lot of things that I've started, and we're kind of in these weird contrasting parts, but at the same time we're both taking the same kind of approach to, we know what we want to do with each of these things. It's just we're at two different parts of them, and I think that's really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I see, I could definitely foresee a future for myself where I'm like, I get to write 1 day a week, and
Yeah.
I want to get myself to a point, both with, like, my skill and my understanding of what I want to do, where where that's good, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't I could see that, I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping it's more than that, but, I'm trying to get to a point where I don't feel bad, or feel like I'm letting ideas or things languish that I don't want to let them slide by.
Right. Right, like, you wanna be able to do the thing in whatever way you can, but you also want to be okay with however it ends up being versus, whether it's being able to write 5 days a week or being able to write 1 day a week, you still wanna be able to do something of a certain quality and interest. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we're about time.
Yeah, we are at about time. Um, Real quick before we wrap up today's episode, I will say, um, intentions for the show for the new year. Um, we're intending to do a full season. We'll check back in about halfway through the year to see if we're how that's going. And I'm mostly excited to kind of see how the show documents this kind of transitionary period of
Ugh,
transit,
it's
period of finishing, period
yeah,
of it's a very interesting period because you're finishing a lot of projects and you're starting some new things and you're going to be going to law school eventually.
I'm
I'm
most
in a
likely
period
gonna
where
be
I'm
moving across the country.
yeah. Oh, okay. So that's official,
It's not official, but
but most likely.
as of right now, CU has offered me no scholarships, and the other places have.
Gotcha.
So
See you if you're listening to this. No, but JK.
so yeah,
Um
lots of changes.
yeah, lots of changes in both of our lives as we're both continuing to do projects, and I'm wondering if this show will become like a little diary in a way. Um but that's really all I had to say about that. Yeah. So with that, everybody, you can follow the show at Dane and Derek everywhere. That's Dane, the letter N, and then Derek. You can see what movies I'm making on my website, derekaiello.com.
Hold on. I just oh my are we D&D? Are we D&D? Is
Yes, we
that
are D&D.
fuck yes. Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Very excited about that. I didn't
No, yeah.
It's been
Did you not
11
real
years and I haven't put that together. Just
you
it's
haven't put
fine.
that
It's
together?
fine.
Oh, that's
It's
so
fine.
funny.
Don't think nobody think about it too hard for me. Please don't do that. Wait, hold on.
Uh,
Is it 11 or 12?
um,
We met
uh,
in 2010.
2010, or I guess technically,
Oh, autumn of 2010. Autumn of 2010.
yeah, autumn of 2010, or was it autumn of 2009?
No.
No, yeah, it was 2010. So, yeah, it'll be 12 years this September.
Okay. All right. Cool. Anyways, you can find what I do over at danewrites.com. There's links to everything I do out there. And my Substack is where if you want to see my writing, in particular. Yeah.
Yeah,
Time.
time
Time
time is a
moves along.
doozy. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you all for hanging out with us this week.
See you later.